Does this work?
It doesn't work, but I hear you.
Super.
Is everybody recording?
What? Sorry. So hello everybody, I'm Andrei from Think, and today I want to talk to you a bit about GT examples. So this is a very tiny engine whose purpose is to simplify the way we create tests and documentation. So we create examples and then we're going to reuse for specifying tests and documentation. I just want to show you today a very short introduction, mostly focusing on the difference between tests and examples, and then looking more into the economics of designing our tests to be examples for our system. And for that, I need some demo, some system, so I'm going to use, if you were here Tuesday, you saw it, so it's a very small, so I'm going to use a very small address book application. This is the application for which we are going to write then some examples, and then first some tests, and then some examples. So this is a very simple one. Mostly it has, we have an address book object, and then the address book will have contacts, and then each of those contacts will have an address, and then the address can have telephone numbers. So it's mostly a very simple domain. And to begin with, let's create a test for this. So I just want to test a bit this. For example, I want to test that I can create a contact and then I can add it to an address book. So mostly that's. I already have some tests, so I don't have to, because otherwise we'll have to type too much. So, but let's just create a very simple test, for example. So let's just test that we can create a contact. So I will call it Jane Doe. Contact, and let's say contact would be AB contact new, and maybe you want to have a first name, that would be Jane, and last name that would be Doe. So this is John Doe or Jane Doe, unknown person actually. And then of course if it's a test, we like to add some assertions, so maybe let's just test that contact first name is Jane. And then okay, I can save, and okay, if it works, and then let's add maybe one more. Last name equals Doe. Save, perfect. So we have our first test. I mean, it's a very simple one. Actually, I can make it a bit more complex. So I just copy a bit more assertions, so I don't have to write them all the time. Okay, so we have a test first. So this is how I would write a test most of the time. And now let's write one more test for an address book. So I want to test that my address book. Address book, and for this I'll have to instantiate GT address book new. And then maybe I just want to address book add contact. And what do I need to add? But then what do I add now? Okay, maybe I can go here and extract this into a method. Extract method, let's say create Jane Doe contact. Super, and now in my address book I can add create Jane Doe contact, and I just add a very simple assertion that maybe address book contacts size equals 1. And hooray, my test passed. Super. So this is what I do a lot. You can do this using test-driven development or right afterward, but this would be quite often. So it's mostly what we do. And now, okay, I have the test, they pass, and then, okay, I can also open a test runner if I want to run the test, see that they pass or in the browser. And then, for example, for this domain model, often what we do is, apart from tests, we also want to write some documentation. Maybe how to explain people how this works. And usually, most of the people will go here, or the standard is to go here and say, for example, to create an address book, so no, maybe address book are instances of the class, what was the class? GT, AB, address book, maybe I could put some, okay, maybe if I use, let's say, Markdown, then I would put here maybe some code, maybe address book new. So just the code. Since I'm lazy, I will just paste some more documentation here. And then I would save this, commit it to usually GitHub, and then it will be something like this. And then, okay, I inserted here also a picture, so I took a screenshot and put it here, and then I have some code. And then if I will give this to somebody, they could read it, and then usually you copy-paste, you go back to your idea, and that's mostly how people follow or tend to follow tutorials. Okay, now let's see how we can do this maybe a bit different. And start from examples first. For that, I'm going to open the new playground, and let's find the class, GT, AB, address book example. So what do we have here? So examples, we can add them an example is a method, but we can add it with first to structure examples, we can do it also as tests. For example, we structure tests in a class, we can also structure examples within a class, for example. So I created here before AB address book example, so class to structure examples for address books. And this can be any class. If you want to have a lot more assertions, you can make it subclass with the example provider, but it's not necessary. You can subclass object and then you just implement your own assertions. Not necessarily have to subclass. And to create, so let's create the same example as we did before. So with the chain node. So maybe let's call it chain node contact. And now, what did I do before? So I will say contact, and then contact is GT, capital A, AB. So it was the contact. Now let's create a new one, and then what is first name, game, contact last name, no, that does not. And okay, so then if I want an example, I want to use it, I also want to make sure that the example works. Just as the test, I want to make sure the test works also with examples first. Otherwise, how do I know that it works? I don't. So we can do the same assertions as before also right here. So I can assert that contact, first name, equals J, and then that's assert contact
Equals.
okay, equals hello. Okay. Okay, so until now it actually seems identical as with the test. There is actually no difference.
But we have not returned the code.
No, but this is not yet an example. So now it's just as I will do the test. So now let's make this test an example. We'll have to do two things. So first, we have to tell the engine that this is an example. In JUnit, mostly this was done by starting the method with test. So here, we will do it by adding a specific annotation. So this will be GT example. And now, this test example should return something. The object that it creates as an example, so we will return contact. What did I do? Forgot about it. So now, all we had to do was add the annotation and then return the actual object that this example creates. So now we can save this, so now I can run it, and it's a success, almost good. Sorry? Wait, I remove some change of contact. Yeah, so it's an error in the. Of course. So it's an error actually in the extension that creates this function. But what we could actually do to just make it work is go here, or no. Yes, let's make also this as before. Let's insert a full one that initializes everything. If I save and run, the extension actually works. So now we have our first example. Okay, nothing that's special yet. So now let's create one more for the address book. We just do before the address book. So call it my problem. Example, address book, and this one. Address book. Let's just add one contact. And now we can directly call the previous example that we created. So that was self Jane-Doe contact. And in this address book, let's add maybe one more contact. And that one maybe is we also have John Doe. Jane-Doe and John Doe. And let's add one assertion. That will say maybe address book, contacts, size equals 2, and then we can return the actual address book.
Patrick,
Yes.
sorry, what was the little triangle on the right?
We're coming.
Ah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
There's a typo in contact, address to contacts.
Okay, I can debug the error, but I just do it faster. Success. Super. Okay, so until now I wrote 2 tests and 2 examples. So there was not much of a difference. So I mostly added an annotation and returned an object, but other than that, it was mostly the same. So usually when we do tests, when tests are green, that's the moment when you mostly stop interacting with the text. You might use it later to read it, but that indicates I'm done. It's green, done, job done. With examples, it's the other way around. The moment when an example is green, that's the moment when you can start interacting with that actual example. Because, for example, every class that has examples has a presentation with all the examples. For example, this class has 4 examples. I could run them all, see that they work. And then I can select an example. So, for example, let's go for the contact address, the one that we created before. Let's make it a bit bigger. When we select an example, we get back when we inspect an example, we get back an object that models that example. So not the result, not the return value, but an object that models the example. In this case, it's an instance of GP example. And let's see what we can do with it. So, okay, first we have the source code, so we can browse the source code, but this is nothing that much interesting. You saw before that in an example, so we called another example. So these are dependencies. Where was my address book? Okay, this was good. So we have those dependencies. So a lot of times, one of the things that we want to do with an example is to explore quickly those dependencies to see is this a simple example or does this depend on other, is a more complex structure. So first thing that we have is a very simple presentation. So this just gives you a quick overview of how examples are structured. So then if I could click here, I can navigate And then I will see, okay, this is the address book. The address book creates the contact. And then these contacts follow actually the same method to create the address. So we'll have the same address. But this is only useful if what we want is to get a very quick overview of what's my structure. Is it simple? Is it complex? Is it not complex? Now, if we want to dive more into the example, this is not the right view. For that, we'll switch to source. Maybe I make it a bit bigger. And now I have the code, but then I have these methods here, the other examples. So a lot of times I would like to read them and dive into them. So this is what this triangle is supposed to do. So if you click it, then you can expand it right in place and then dive in. And then I could expand this one, and then keep diving in to see the code of the examples. I mean, this is useful if what I want to do is really focus on one example, and then dive in to see its code without opening too many browsers or windows. And this also allows us to have these methods without the fear that I have to open too many windows to see the actual code. But okay, but this is still, I mean, this is just like a to dive in. If what we want is to get an overview also of the source code, and what are the actual dependencies, then this doesn't really fit. I cannot see here that I call the same address, the same contact address also from the other one. It would be a lot of scrolling. But for that, there is a different view. So not all views have to support all our use cases. So this was to get a quick overview. This is to dive in the code. And now we can go to the connector, and here we can also dive in the code, preserving at the same time the struct, the dependencies. So I could select maybe Jane, and now I get Jane here. I can select maybe, let's expand the address. So now I get the address, and now maybe I can click on Joe. And now can I expand the address? It doesn't. So like this, I can expand examples, look at the source code, but at the same time also preserve dependencies. Okay, this takes more space, and if this is not what I want to do, I will not use it. But if this is my use case, to also look source code and dependencies, then this is the place to do it. Okay, until now, we just looked at static things. So we looked at dependencies between examples and source code. But the more interesting aspect about an example is that it actually returns an object. So every example we can execute. In this case, there is this triangle. So this is an address book example, so it will return our address book. And in this case, the address book is quite simple. It just has our two contacts. And notice that now I'm looking at, like I said, in the inspector, for every object will have multiple presentations. So in this case, I don't have to look at using the raw view. I can just have a presentation that shows me the list of contacts from this address. And then I can continue to explore this object if I want. So I can look at the details, and then I also have a more different way of showing this. And again, also in this, for address book, I can have different presentations for this. It doesn't have to always be the same. And this maybe now simulates how maybe my application would look like. Maybe I'll need the views may be different, but I can still play even maybe with something that's closer to my application now. That I have an object in the inspector. So the example is a way to get back a very interesting object that we can play with. And we can get also other more interesting objects. So this was a very, very simple example, but maybe we can go to one that has maybe cartoon examples. So this is a class that contains a few more examples, and this is my list of my address book for cartoon characters. Not sure how useful it is. So again, I will execute the example. Okay, if I look at the graph, I see, okay, this is an address book that has 6 contacts. I can navigate, okay, I have, let me look at the cards maybe. I have Bugs Bunny here. Or I can maybe in this view, because there are more contacts, add a different view, so I just put them in a circular view. Then I can just navigate. So this is a different object that might be interesting for my domain. Let's again create it through an example. And if I go back, I can see what does it take to create this domain object that I have. All the dependencies are explicitly captured in the actual example. And then, we don't just have to stop at these two worlds being different. So if we go back here to connections, yes, I can expand here the dependency, but this is still static. But it doesn't have to be static, because if I have an example, I can inspect it. I can execute it and get the object. So I can also So now I can move from the static side to the dynamic side. So look at the code, okay, now what this example created, and then how is this example created. So this is a totally different way to look at my examples in a more, my code, but this is a dynamic way. And moving from dynamic to static is mostly one click away. So that's one. So these were two big advantages that examples have over. So first is the static aspect that you can explore in case specifically captured, and then the second is that as the return object, you can anytime move from the static to the dynamic world. Okay, so now let's go back to our documentation, because what we did before in the documentation, so it was mostly copy-pasting code and then putting them here. But then with an example, you already have that code. And here I put a picture of the PNG, but we also have a way to build that view. So why not use a different way to create our documentation? So let's go to our class. Let's say I would like to add a comment to the GT address book example class. So this is my class, it has no class comment. Let's try the same comment as before. So here we started with the address book are instances of the class. So let's do that. Address books, instances of the class. And now I could actually insert the class name, but let's add the class annotation, because I know that that is a class. So let's say class, address, what was address book? Okay, so now because it's a class, I should also get a triangle. So now I can look maybe at the source code of that class. So I can add different annotations, or can add different ways to explore that information. And since this is pillar, I could add also maybe the source code. So let's say I had GT, maybe address book, and let's just make a new one. Button. So now I had the source code, but I also have a button to run it. So now I can immediately, in the code, execute the example and see the result. If that's what I want to do. Might not, but I can do it. And now I'm not going to write the next. So we saw yesterday that we can how to embed examples. And so I prepared few more lines. So that will say, okay, contacts are done. Maybe we can make it bigger. So the contacts are the instances of the class address book. They can have several properties, and then I just put here the example for John Doe contact. And this is the code to create this example. And now I can actually insert the actual picture that's generated here. So I just inserted this address book example from John Doe contact. I want to show the preview, so I want to show the view, and then I'm hiding the source code. But then instead of doing this, where it's just a screenshot that's embedded here, this can actually be generated live from the view of inspector. I copy pasting is not the best way. Yeah, so now also I inserted here the address book example, the big one, that I can execute, and then I get here what I had before writing the inspector. So it's not something else that lives somewhere. It can be live in the documentation. Questions?
So the comment tab is like the documenter that we saw yesterday for a pillar file?
No, but this is a class, and this is the comment of this class.
Yeah, but inside, what you display inside?
Inside its pillar format, that displays.
Could you open the documenter visual on a class comment?
Yes, so this is document.
Okay, that's
so if I go, maybe let's find this is the address book example. If I go to maybe find Spotter, address book example, and if I go to the comment, okay, I didn't. Okay, maybe I should just save the comment. So this is a pillar. This is the entire code that we wrote. So we just said our instances, and we had our small sentences describing what we want, and then we were just embedding examples in different ways. And is this hard to write? I mean, this is tiny. So this is not that hard to write. I mean, this is tiny. But the prerequisite is that we had our examples that describe what we wanted to do, and then the only thing that we did is took those examples, added them here, and just added some extra explanation.
I have a question about at the end of your presentation. Are you having the presentation? Or?
I will just say it tomorrow.
Okay.
You can ask it.
Well, okay. You know, when you, I think that the work is great. This idea of changing the way of programming is really interesting in school. But comparing this with TDD, I would like, there are some things that I want to think about and also want to ask you. When you do TDD, you do it because you want to develop in an incremental, iterative, with immediate feedback.
Yes.
And what I'm seeing from this example that we're showing to us is the immediate feedback part. Yes. I mean, it's cool that you can see the images of, you know, cartoons and all those things. But that's something that you get when you're done. But if you have to solve a problem first, you don't have the, you didn't create a class address book, or you don't have the constant class again. And then you have to do that in an iterative and incremental way.
Okay, so here so here there was no time, but I can. For example, is a test, so you can start developing in the same way as you do in TDD. If there was a bit more time, I could have done the same. Started with no class, run the test, failed, run the example, failed.
And is your experience of doing that this way better, the same?
So up to the point where once you just want to do the test, it's the same, because you just write the test. Okay. There is no difference here between TDD and the example-driven development. But after you're done there, with TDD usually stop. And just because you do TDD doesn't mean you have an explainable system. Doesn't mean your test passed. Doesn't mean that you'll be able to explain your system.
I mean, I agree with that. Definitely doing it this way, you have better documentation, a better way to, you know, go through the examples and the objects that you create. I really see it. But I don't see that this way of working changes the iterative and incremental way that you
It doesn't change, it complements it.
Okay.
So it's not like now stop doing
But
it.
what I'm trying to say is, I see a big leap in the immediate feedback and all that part of the development, but I don't see a big difference with the iterative and incremental way.
No, but there is none there. It's the same process. But
Okay.
after,
Okay.
then think about it. It's the same effort. So the effort that you invest in testing, then you don't have to invest another 10 times more in documentation. It's the same
But
effort.
I was wondering if working this way, we could have also a big leap in that way of working. If we could, I don't know.
So the interface of how you should create those things. So if you notice here, there was no window. And this is just the beginning of the exploration of how an interface would look like. With no window, no pop-up, things could just be created on place. The same things can be applied for test-driven feedback or for the creation part. With no windows, no pop-up, everything in place, immediate feedback, and ideally live. And those things, it's coming.
I see,
So that would be, the usability part of it is actually quite important.
Yeah.
And I think we can make a big.
Okay.
Also, I mean, most of the time, actually, if I go to the test runner, it's just open where is it?
No, yeah, I mean,
No, so you know, this, the point of, so I run test, and then with this, what do I stop?
yeah.
So the point is to not stop when you're here, to start. So this should be the entry point to something more. If you go to this point of TDD, it's perfect.
So to conclude, if I understand correctly, the process you recommend, we agree, I think we all agree that the examples you create are not the same as the test. I mean, you have a library and we have 100 tests because I test internal things that,
No,
yeah,
for block we have 1,000 and something examples.
okay.
And for GT we have
Okay,
a few thousand that are examples.
But anyway,
Well, no, because
because I don't believe testing the behavior is not the same as what I want to show as an example of a user.
You're utilizing your definition of what something is. But because you can write assertions and actually have much better control of how the order of things of testing get better. Because when you have a graph, and you organize your tests as a graph, then the return result is much better. And you don't have to think. Because you don't have to think about, oh, am I in this mode or am I in that mode? I can just go between them and there's just one number. They're not two.
Yes, there are use cases where you still use tests, I mean, very low level things.
I would still use tests, but then I would write examples.
No, but if you do the only examples, it can be the same effort, one mentality.
But I don't want everybody to see all of those examples. I just want to, because I test 100 things of 100 scenarios.
So you don't have to embed all in documentation.
That's an interesting point. So that's the thing, because keep the entry point. If you use, people say, oh, tests are useful for learning, understanding the system. Which tests?
Yeah, which,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. So now if you look at the comments of the examples,
Yeah.
that's the place where you say, these tests, these examples are interesting for understanding the system.
Okay.
And that's the entry point.
Okay.
And then you navigate wherever you want to go.
With that,
Okay.
Other questions?
No, I'm trying to follow the idea, just this, I mean, maybe you mean that if you started to making maybe some kind of TDD, and then you go afterwards to go there and start to write some example, but you already know what you did because you did TDD before. But maybe the idea, I understand, I'm trying to check if I understand, that maybe the idea is just to start writing, maybe writing example, not just documentation, just write some example, and it just should mean that, for example, I had to create some class that I already doesn't create before, so I just to start to create that class and complete this to make the examples work, and then write the documentation and maybe iterative going in that way. Maybe it's the idea of the methodology. That's okay? Great.
And so the entry point, you don't have to know, oh, this is a going test. There's no the difference between prototyping something in the workspace and starting the test. It's actually, there's no difference.
So maybe
that's why we want to piecemeal transition. You can just start by playing with an object, and at some point, oh, now I know what assertions to write, and I will write an assertion. So you don't have to.
So the idea is not just writing documentation, wait for that, start from there, but just make the behaviors tell you what the documentation should say.
Exactly. And then it's one effort for both, not two. You don't think, now I do this, now I do that. Okay?
so I can possibly take one subclass of that GT example test, the one that has the assertions. And I could make my subclass and I could mix test for each unit that, start with test, as well as test that has the GT examples.
No. You have to subclass test case for them.
Okay.
Because as unit wants you to subclass test case. There is no way around.
Okay.
I want to do something related that we are trying to come up with object documentation, and it would be ideal not to have to write the documentation. So we are trying to take the most of what we already have, and maybe add some documentation. Why not? So far we have tests and we have examples, and these are like, as I understand, these examples and tests are like the same thing, or well, you said that you wanted the examples to make assertions. Okay. So a third source of interesting documentation that is missing, not from this framework, but from in general from Smalltalk systems that we have. So based on our experience, say that is validations. Validations. If you think of validations in a similar way you think of assertions, validations validate the object that already exists. So every object knows how to validate itself. And this captures the business logic and the rules of the option. And writing validations is very easy because you concentrate on some sort of options and you validate them. And adding for the validation failures or validation warnings or validation informations, a meaningful description on the thing you should pay attention to. So this gives you a meaningful feedback of the state of the options, and at the same time, the validation code itself captures the logic of your business option. So this will bring a lot of information that tools like this will take a moment.
Okay, well, let's up here. Okay, so thank you very much. And then if you have more questions, you can,